This class is called You Make the Call, Strategies for Success. Now, I will have this, as you will too, on the thumb drive, but I want you to rest easy knowing that you'll have a computer screen in front of you. Because if any of the old farts catch you doing this is class 6, you make the call, we will beat you with the big ugly stick. We will beat you so bad. You'll be looking forward, you'll be looking at the screen, and they'll think you've got all this stuff memorized. Wow, they know exactly what's behind them. So rest easy that you've got that too. I tend to spread things out in front of me, so I've always got notes to look at. I'm cool with that. A couple of years I've made a closing speech at LTC. I've had the speech taped to the floor in great big cards. So it looks like I know that I'm just making this stuff up. I'm nervous as heck, but it's right there in front of me if I need my crutch. It's okay. Whatever works for you guys, go ahead and use that. So when I start this class, I'm going to welcome them in. We're going to have the usual chit-chat, how things going in your townhouse, how are things back in your school. We relax, we get settled in, talk about what the class is called. Yeah. As you point out, what's Phil going to do without all the paper that he tapes up? I'm going to bring it. I'm going to have 3 backups. I'm going to have everything on paper. I'm going to have my markers so I can write on the whiteboards, and I'm also going to have this too. But what I tend to do is, it might be up on the screen, do one of the slides have the 7 decision-making steps?
Yes.
Okay. Could you put that one up for me, please? I'm not sure where that is. Keep it in the box. Since we're teachers, we talk about the objectives in the course. And I would talk about our first objective is, well, I would start here. I'd say, how do you guys feel when you have to make a decision? Well, go ahead, say again.
Sorry.
Go back.
Oh, how do you
Well-
feel when you have to make a decision?
Overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed? Oh, why?
You
passed it.
What if it's the wrong decision?
Oh, yeah, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Great, thanks for sharing that. Any others? Positive, negative?
There it is.
I'm sorry? Oh, okay, you guys are all,
Okay.
I key off whatever. So I take something from the crowd and I go with that. That's all. Okay, well, for one, I'll tell you what we're going to do. In this class, we're going to give you some system. We're going to give you a little opportunity to not feel so overwhelmed. Okay? One of the reasons we tend to do nothing in a situation is, well, that's all we've rehearsed. We're really good at that. So we're going to teach you how to do a few things besides nothing today. So let's start with, what if we could come up with 7 steps? What if we could come up with something that really codified the whole decision-making process? So Michaela, maybe somebody like you would feel better. Wouldn't it be great if we have 7 steps like that? Anybody have any idea what one of those steps might be? Yes, ma'am.
Identifying the problem.
You must be from South Jersey.
Oh, absolutely
You're so
not.
smart.
But she wants to be.
I'm just rolling with it. I'm having fun. It works a lot with the middle school, but it still works with the high school. Because I'm old enough to be like, oh, God, you're so boring. I get rid of that stuff. Where did you get that great idea?
Grapevine.
Oh, what do you know? Good. And the whole idea of sometimes, this is my lead-in, because again, it looks like I'm making this stuff up. Sometimes the answers are right in front of us, and try as we might, we still don't want to read them and use them. So, let's take a moment to take a look at the 7 steps we've got here. Everybody knows the first thing we're going to do is figure out what's the problem, right? And then what might the next thing we do be? Go ahead.
Gather information.
We got a bright one. Okay, we got to give the job in the classroom here. We're going to gather information. Everybody knows how to gather information. We turn to our best friends and ask them what they would do. Because our best friends would never let us down. They never lie, right? And they've gotten us this far. Oh, okay. Maybe we should stand a few more later on in class. Well, the next thing we'll do is we learned brainstorming in a previous class. We're going to determine solutions. That's another way to say brainstorms. But here's what we're going to add to it. We're going to identify consequences. By the way, sometimes I add things like this and sometimes I don't. This line works better in middle school. Say, I've been a teacher all my life and try to establish a little credibility with students. So, do you know what the difference tends to be between boys and girls? Girls will say, I wonder what would happen if I did that. Boys will say, let's do this and then see what happens. And we get a lot of nods going on like, okay, well, we need to break that mold, guys. We need to think a little more like the girls on this one. But we'll get back to that later. Now we need to convince everybody who's got a say in this, right? Now, how many of you are still putting mom and dad in the same room when you ask permission to go somewhere? Who's learned the secret? Go ahead, sir, what's the secret?
So you have to separate them, right? And then you have to ask one, and when one says no, then you would go to the other one, obviously, and say, well, Mom was kind of on the fence about it, but she really thinks that we should go.
Well, I don't have any problem with this, but
No problem.
there you go, smart guy, you've learned how to convince, it's gonna be no different in your student council. Yeah, no different for the rest of your life. Then you're gonna have to decide, this is what I'm gonna do. And we move right ahead, we plan, we act, we go on, and number 7, we'll get back to at the end of this class, but we need to evaluate. If this worked, let's try that one again. Okay? We'll move on from there. Let's see. At this point, I'd like to show you a video about a situation that you've probably encountered. I want you to think about the steps while we watch this video. Take a moment, enjoy yourselves.
For kids who stutter, talking out loud can put them face to face with confusion. Are you nervous? Impatience. And all too often, a being said.
Today, Junior, just don't know how to talk.
And it can result in a lifelong fear of speaking in public. In the 2010 Oscar winner, The King's Speech, we see how it affects King George VI. But for the 65 million stutterers worldwide, simply placing an order for ice cream,
Hey, how's it going?
can be royally terrifying. We're at an ice cream parlor called Frozen in Time in Livingston, New Jersey. And our hidden cameras are focused on Alina. She tries her best to place her order.
Ice cream, please.
But the actors we've hired to follow her in line aren't practicing much patience.
Yeah, we already know what we want.
This customer doesn't seem to like what she's hearing, but will she stand up for her?
Okay? At this point, I'd like you to take a moment, and one of the things I forgot to mention earlier is when we get to class, make sure everybody's got their name tag where you can see it. Make sure they have their notebooks, and make sure they have a pen or pencil. Just recall that. I'm assuming everyone here does, but if you don't, pretend. I'd like you to think about if you were in that position, and you just observed that happening, take a moment or two to write down exactly what you would do next. Not what you think I would want you to do necessarily, but what you would do. Take a moment and write that down, please. And we take a moment and we write that down. And if I'm worried about the group, especially if I'm teaching at the middle school level, I have no problem with plants, with ringers, with talking to a delegate beforehand that I've worked with or that I asked their senior, junior counselor, can I count on this person? And I'll go to them beforehand and I'll say, Ryan, do me a favor and give me an answer something along the lines of when this comes up. I really wouldn't do anything. I know I want to, because I might need that to feed off of if I don't get what I need to get the discussion moving forward. So Brian's got, I usually write it on a note card and he's got it in case we need it. So I'm going to open it up to the group and see what happens. Who would like to share with us one of the things that they would do if they were in that situation? And I get one. Michaela, thank you.
I probably would want to do something, but wouldn't be brave enough to say it, so I might just leave the ice cream shop.
Okay. I acknowledge her honesty. Could you give us a moment to tell me why you might do that?
Because I don't want to be around people that are making fun of someone like that, but it would probably be really hard to tell them to stop.
Okay, I like that. We want to be careful that we're not the teacher who is saying, playing the game, guess what's in my head, and I'll tell you you're correct. Does anybody have a better answer than the one Michaela gave? This is a horrible example. I know this is on tape, and that's why I'm saying it that way. Don't do that. See, that's nice, Michaela, but does anybody have a better answer? Don't go there. Go with what we get and work off that nervousness. Oftentimes we do nothing because that's what we've rehearsed. An old Calvin and Hobbes cartoon was Calvin and Hobbes talking to each other about, one asked the other, why do we play war when we're little kids? And the other character says, well, that's all we really practice. We don't practice, let's play peace. What do you do? How do you do that? We thrive on conflict, so that's okay. So, would anybody else like to share their answer? And if I don't get anything right away, I just move right on. Yes, sir.
I'd probably just say that I don't appreciate it. I'd tell those three people that were there that I don't appreciate what you guys are saying. You know, if you guys can stop, I'd appreciate it. And I guess it just depends on if they're gonna be more aggressive to me at that point, or as long as it's kind of taking the heat off of the other person that's trying to do their order, I think that's a good way to distract those three aggressive people too.
Okay, I'm gonna play back a few things that I heard, just so I can make sure I really understood you. One of the things I might do, you talked about, and you talked about taking pressure off the situation, trying to redirect the energy. And also heard you say it would depend on a few other things. And I want to make sure that we all understand, there's no right answer here. We're going to weigh in on this based on a variety of factors. And going back to the first screen that we had up, we want to consider an awful lot of information before we make a decision. So I really want to thank you for participating like that. I'll tell you what, let's take a moment. Now, before we go back, I'll give you a real life example. Certain young lady who just had a baby, whose mother is one of the co-directors of this organization, walked into a local eatery here in Delran just a week or so ago. If you've ever been pregnant, you understand that you are self-conscious about your looks. And she thought they were young high school, maybe middle school boys were, a little too loud about the smirks and jokes they were making. Being this day and age, one of them had a cell phone. She looked over and she realized the young man was videotaping her. And the others were making cracks about size. And I don't need to repeat those here. She could have done a lot of things. She's a lot older than you high schoolers and middle schoolers sitting in front of me. But she walked over and calmly explained, what you're doing is free speech. You're allowed to, and I can't stop you. But what I'm about to say is my free speech. You're hurting my feelings. I'm about to give birth to a child. All of your mothers did. Imagine if your mother were here right now. And that was the best line of all, because all their faces went. They said the next thing they want was 3 boys pointed at 1 boy. It was his idea. I'm not casting aspersion here. I just wanted you to know that your actions have consequences. And they hurt my feelings. And I would ask you not to do that. I hope you'll erase that video. Yes, ma'am, we're sorry, ma'am. Okay. She didn't go rat him out to the manager of the store. She didn't yell at him, and she didn't feel the need to bring it down by cursing or any other kind of invective. She just spoke her piece. And that was that. Now, that's a courage of being 30 years old, a school teacher herself, but I'm not asking you 12 to 17-year-olds to have the same amount of courage, but it's something to think about. So let's move back to the video for a moment, and let's see what some people chose.
Really, this is gonna take all day.
It doesn't take her long at all.
I know she's taking her time.
She's not taking her time, she's a stutter, and it's taking forever. Take your time.
That's what I'm complaining about. She's taking her time. Just pick it up, please.
When they don't stop, she pleads with the owner. As her emotions take over, it's time to introduce ourselves. Jack and the others. They brought you to.
Yeah. I know someone was trying so hard to get what she wanted, and she was really trying, and they were just being so rude.
Where's Alina? Alina is an actress, but her stutter is real. She knows firsthand what it's like to be ignored, rushed, and bullied.
I really do stutter, and I hear that stuff a lot.
Were you surprised at the reaction?
I was. It's not common to hear a person say, "Knock it off." Like it is ignored, and to have you like us stand up for me meant so much. Like I teared up a bit.
A touching moment, but we wonder, will others be so quick to come to Alina's defense?
Chocolate chip
Were you a little slow or something?
This man seems to notice, but he leaves without saying a word. We try again.
With,
Are you nervous? It's okay, it's just ice cream. Send me a text of what you want, and I'll tell him.
And that is too much for this woman, who gives her bullies the freeze. But nothing would prepare us for Barbara Shermer and her family.
They say the line starts over here? Okay, thank you. This is gonna take a while. Can you guys let us go ahead of her, and then you can help her after we're done? Or is it being patient?
It's gonna take forever.
Someday in your life, you don't have anyone in your family that you love.
She's making a lot of orders though. Actually, more ice cream is in the Yeah, but kind of like this is. Okay, so then you wait.
And Barbara makes it clear that she's willing to wait as long as it takes.
Take your some people need to have patience.
But she's all out of patience for our bullies.
You know what? Service those people so they can leave.
Thank you. I would like that.
We would like you gone.
And after Barbara tells the men in her family what's going on, she's got brawny reinforcements.
Get your ice cream and get out.
What are your food? All right.
Well, you got in his face.
When you knew that he was talking about a disability, not stuttering, that is, I think, costing a lot. Sometimes at that age, I don't know if you truly understand the ramifications of draft, how words can really hurt somebody.
That's what you're gonna do.
I was hoping my height.
That's what we decided we're gonna break this in. What a team this is.
Man, what's funny?
And we wonder, what will people do if we switch things up a bit? What if it's Alina who's serving up the scoops?
You have yogurt here?
either chocolate or vanilla.
You alright?
Yeah, yeah. I just cutter.
Why did you work in a job that you're gonna have to solve?
I can run anywhere, right?
Maybe you can, you shouldn't.
Just bear with me. I can help you.
Yeah,
I got it.
This woman stands up for our study. And she tries to put it in perspective.
What if that was your sister?
I told my sister not to work here.
Don't let them trick.
She can make ice cream. Just tell her what you want.
And after the bullies leave the building, she has words for the owner, who at our request kept out of it.
Should have been a little more strict. She's your employee.
And one last time, these two women hear everything.
You have a hearing problem too.
Oh, you want some kind of special, like, handicap program or something?
They watch the scene for 7 agonizing minutes until they finally can't take it anymore.
She's had a struggle and registered people in her face, making fun of her, making fun of her. So then why would she work if she can't take our order? Properly. But you're being rude and not being nice to us. Sit there and be patient enough.
I just worked for like an hour to get this ice cream.
After 3 minutes.
I struggled.
Oh my God.
Did you order from her?
Oh, you want to
Did you order from her?
Let them have it.
It's like same thing as how much my on their race or on their clothes or on their hair color. You're still getting regular service, so why do you have to take it? Doesn't matter.
Throughout the day, Alina received an abundance of patience and support, while playing a role that too often is her reality.
I was not expecting like that huge reaction.
Some of them called it a disability or a handicap, is it?
No, to me it's just part of life.
Are you glad you did this?
Very glad.
Your message to people who witness this sort of thing?
Stand up and speak because it happens a lot and it feels so good like to hear a person us get that for you.
That's a message we all hear, loud and clear.
We saw a variety of responses, the ones that we shared in the video, and a couple others as well. It's important to note And we're not advocating violence, we're not advocating confrontation, we're just advocating the opportunity to create a variety of responses. Which one's gonna work best in this particular situation? It's not about shaming, it's not about embarrassing, but to take off on the point that she shared before, sometimes it's about language. We have to think about the words we use. I like the word mainstream. I used to be a special education teacher many, many years. And I always ask my students, what's mainstream? What does that mean? Whoever invented that word was standing in it, because it means everybody who's not where I am. Something to think about. You're going to find a word that this person likes and that person doesn't. We can solve those problems later. But I'll just ask you to think first about the words that we might choose with somebody. We'll go there a little bit later. Now, we've already covered how we make decisions. Remember, there were those 7 steps that were right there on the board in front of me. Even though once in a while we forget them. Now I want to ask you, and I've got a piece of paper or a whiteboard over here, I'm going to say, why do we make those decisions? Why do we decide to maybe let this one go, maybe step in, or maybe actually confront in a respectful, but in a way that lets people know how I exactly feel? Where do those things come from? Anybody want to raise a hand? Yes, ma'am.
Well, I think you have to, like, judge the situation, because if it's a person that can stand up for themselves and, like, has no problem talking, or, like, being able to identify the problem and address it themselves, it's not necessarily important for you to step in on their own.
Right.
But if it's someone that is just gonna let it happen and it's obviously upsetting them, then it's maybe something to think about addressing.
So on step 2, we said gather information. That's where you are. You're gathering information about this problem before I act. So that's good. Now, how did you arrive at whatever decision you arrived at? Where did those values come from that told you to watch, nudge, or confront? Where did those values come from? That's a little bit deeper, a little bit harder maybe.
How you grow up, maybe,
Okay,
family.
my family, my mom and dad, I'm writing this on the board. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
My religion?
Oh, my religion. I'm going to write that word on the board too. We're a little nervous about that one, aren't we? We're allowed to say all this stuff. It's just stuff. Anybody else? Where might you get your values? Yes,
My
ma'am.
friends.
Oh, my friends. There we go. Especially at this age. Mom and dad lose a little favor. We start to look forward to who we're hanging out with.
Teachers.
Oh, teachers, thank you very much. We all know that teachers are fonts of information. Is it a font when I type with? We haven't studied for the SAT before. Let's go. Any others? And if there are others, I'll keep writing them down. The idea being that we get our information from a variety of sources. One of the things I talk about are bumper stickers. I like the way that bumper sticker sounds, but if I think about it, I'm not sure I'll go there. But we talk about how we make decisions based on our values. Each of us has a value. Now the trick with a value is, it's talk. I can talk anything, but how do I walk? How does it look if I say that? Take a moment, if you would, and write down one word that's a value. One word for you that's a value. I don't care what the word is, just go ahead and write. I just want to see hands moving. Good. Okay. Good. You wrote respect. Thank you, Rajan. One of the things about being a teacher is you learn to read upside down. Rajan wrote respect, and since I'm a teacher, one of the things I really value is respect. If I'm teaching the class, I prefer that you're not interrupted. Fair enough? Good. I'm going to move on with some things that I need to move on with here. But thank you. And thank you for sharing that with us, Rajan. We're going to move into ethical decisions. And how do I make an ethical decision? Right? Okay, thanks. In your books, on page 612, so I want to get them out and get them open up. If you don't have your book, on page 612 is epic. I've got a slide for epic as well. One of my segues at that point from the respect thing and how I demand this, that's my talk, I demand respect. It's important to me. And I mentioned that it's important that we walk that walk too. As I was segueing into ethical decision making, I gave Sue the wrong phone number, but I was asking Sue to call me at that point. So, signal. So my phone would ring, and as I started talking about ethics, I was like, I'm really sorry I have to take this. And this is really important, I know this class is, and I would, whatever I had to do and then hang up again and move on, I would keep moving until one of you It's the building.
It is.
How about that? She did, she dialed like 5 minutes ago. I saw her dialing.
That's great.
I would keep moving until somebody, maybe my plant, if nobody said it, would say, excuse me, I really hate to mention this, but you were just talking about respect. And I feel, I'm nervous about confronting you, but the video said it was okay. So that was disrespectful to us. If we can't answer our cell phones, why can you? I have a master's degree in early childhood and parental education. Do you? I didn't think so. You're just a high school student. This was important. What you're doing really isn't all that important, okay? Okay, and I'm about to move on, and he's going to say, because he's my plant, not you, because you would hurt. Wait, you're a cop, okay.
You're in real trouble.
Yeah, I would use that occasionally. I taught at the college level for 13 years, and I always started my first class with that. I'd ask a question that was so boneheadedly stupid, and give them the wrong answer, and keep teaching until someone said, I disagree. And now when you're in college, college is about questioning the answers, not so much about answering the questions. But I would use that as a stepping stone to, good, that's where we're headed next. The idea that it is easy for us. We can write until our hands fall off. This is what I believe. But what do I practice? How does it look when I do it? And I'm going to ask you to open your notebooks to page, and she put it up there for us. We at LTC, you've learned we love the acronyms. And here's another one for you, EPIC. So whenever you see EPIC, think of this class, think of me. That's an easy way to remember that word. Okay, good. And I keep moving because 2 people got the joke, and the rest of you, I'll explain to you later. 4 words: empathy, patience, integrity, and courage. Now, when I put EPIC up on the board like this, my notes are, I've only put the phrase EPIC. I haven't put what's on page 612 necessarily. Might be up there, but what I want to give them a quick minute to is, somebody give me your definition of the word empathy. Don't worry, this won't be on the park. Take your time, tell me what you're thinking here. Jersey kids would get that joke, okay? Just saying, just saying. And somebody's going to share with me what they think empathy is, and I'm going to say it back to them and write something reasonably close to what's already in the book. Not word for word, otherwise I'm just copying stuff down. But this is my ability to make sure the class is with me. I just don't say empathy and they think whatever empathy is. Because we're going to get into some words later on that you're going to get pretty confused about. So we talk, empathy is understanding the thoughts and needs of others. Patience is taking time to understand before we act. Patience is a good thing. I might ask for an example of integrity, trying to be honest in all situations, and courage is doing what is right, especially when it's difficult. It's easy to, we move on from there. So we have the opportunity to talk about that. And I would ask the class now, could you share an example with me, much like maybe the one we saw in the video, of a time where you had the opportunity to be epic, but you weren't. You just kind of backed out. It's okay, we're not going to make fun of you. And somebody's going to share one, or I'll share one because I've got a box of them. And we'll talk about why did you make those choices. And you're going to reiterate some of the things you folks said. I felt like I would be outnumbered. I felt like my voice might not be heard. There was a situation of violence. I'm flat out afraid to do that stuff, and that's okay. Good. Now we got something to work with. We give them the opportunity to say it's not that it's okay to do nothing, but it's understandable when we don't do nothing. Because we're going to work in this class into trying to find some other alternatives to that. So, I've asked for an example of a negative. Let me ask for an example of a positive. I'll probably get more hands shoot up for this one. Because somebody comfortable talking about a time where you were faced with an issue and you decided to do something that stood up for yourself or for someone else, and how that might have worked out for you. Wow, these are SCs and they don't want to participate. It's so tiring. Oh my. And I'm hoping that somebody will raise it. If they don't, I'll give an example or two. I'll try to find one that's positive for my age group. Okay, maybe work overtime.
You're fine.
I don't tend to stand in one spot very much. I'm stepping off topic for a moment. One of the things I try to do when students are participating is, for instance, and I meant to mention it earlier, Craig. Craig raised his hand, started to speak very quietly, I just moved as far out of the circle as I could. What Craig is doing subconsciously is raising his voice. If I stand right in front of him, he's going to whisper because he thinks I'm the only person listening. I move around too because I'm full of energy. I try to arrange my classrooms in such a way that I can always move around the perimeter. I have a hearing deficit. If I'm in the middle of the room in the cocktail party, I can't hear. My ears work fine, my brain doesn't work. Let that one sink in for those of you who know me. I hear everything. My eyes don't tell my brain what to focus on, and then I can't concentrate. So when I teach, I always work the perimeter of my room. That's how I don't need to tell anybody about what's going on, but that works better for me. That's also why I don't get invited to cocktail parties, but that's another story. Anyway, we've talked about ethical decisions. We've talked about people have shared a positive or a negative example. And I said, well, let's have a little fun with this. We're gonna work in some group decision strategies. There are 4 terms we need to get familiar with, and at this point I'm going to put up on the board the autocratic, democratic, compromise, and consensus. And we'll take a moment again, and here's an opportunity for me, because again, like I just said, that kind of teacher that I am, I want the students to look forward to a minute. I skipped that part.
I know, you're skipping so much around.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not following an order.
Because.
That's what makes them good.
There we go, thank you. 4 words on the board, and I'm going to quickly give students the opportunity to define those again so everybody knows where we're coming from. And this gives me an opportunity to, would you share with us what you think autocratic means, or I'll wait for a hand to go up in the same case. And for those of you that don't know, the definitions are in the book. But consensus is good, I like consensus, and I'll talk about that for a moment. Consensus is great. Consensus is where we all get together and we really listen to each other's opinion and we decide as a group, we're going to do this. Not because the teacher's making us, not because it's the right thing to do, but we all agree, we all buy in. You guys would agree, wouldn't you? Okay, that's great. Good. So, I'll give you an example. How about, what's that sound? I hear the fire drill, right? Craig, you just agreed that consensus was the best possible way to solve any problem. Notice I put words in his mouth. Craig, lead us in consensus over, what are we going to do now that the fire drill is happening, the bell is ringing?
Consensus would be we all going to get up and go outside.
Oh, nobody discussed that. You have to discuss these things. You have to feel good about this, Craig. Weren't you paying attention to me? Let me walk through this one more time now. How do you feel about the bell ringing?
I think that we should all exit.
I like that idea, that's a good one. But let's see if we've really canvassed the whole group here, because I don't want people to feel peer pressure. The bell's ringing, she'd like us all to get up and leave. How about you?
I mean, I'm not really sure the best way to get out, so I think about it.
That's important, Emily, because we're not really sure. That door, this door, what if the fire's in the middle? Maybe we should go out through the windows. Let's take a vote on this. What do you think? All right. Craig, I understand you're maybe a little disturbed with this decision-making process that you started.
But it's a fire drill, like we gotta go.
You gotta go?
We gotta go. I don't want to get
Well, when you gotta go, you gotta go. Right? That's what it is. Are you saying, Craig, help me if I'm wrong here, that maybe autocratic might be a better choice here? Why would you say that, sir?
Because we all agree, well, we don't all need to agree that the best thing to do in this situation is to leave, because we all know that when a fire drill occurs, there's one leader and everybody follows.
Let me see if I have this right. I have a master's degree, and you're a high school student. You're telling me that there's a time when somebody needs to be the boss, and we all just need to follow. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
Thank you very much for intervening in a situation where I tried to put you in a bad situation, taking words out of your mouth and putting other words in, and it seems like you've reached consensus because everyone's saying it's getting a little warm in here, we're pretty sure there is a fire. And we're on our way out the door, right? Thank you. Point I tried to make with a little bit of humor, somebody says very little, okay, is that as we go back and review these steps, we're going to discover that in every situation we encounter, something that I had skipped before, whether the problem is unique or whether the problem is you don't have to go back to that screen, that's okay.
We have a t-shirt.
Yeah. we had a thing where it said a problem is unique or a problem is typical, that sort of thing. Regardless of, there's probably a better way to handle it. And we need to figure out, as you had pointed out so well, that which one of these works best for this particular problem. I just used a fire drill because it's fun. What if we line up by height? What if we line up alphabetically? What if we, yeah. Oh, okay, it's time for toast. What if we line up alphabetically by height? Discussion is a wonderful thing, but there's a time to leave. And as Craig would probably point out, the time to discuss would have been before there was a fire. So that we might understand why we're doing certain things. Right? I can fill in with a lot of personal stories and go there, but we've discussed these four. I've had a humorous interchange, hopefully, with the idea that there's a time and a place for each one. And then I'm going to ask folks to turn in their books to, let's see, page 611 for me. I'm going to step out of character again for a moment. On 611, there are 3 scenarios for group decision making that are appropriate at this point in the lesson. Your mileage may vary. My mileage is such that even though this is a long class and there's a lot of time and we want folks up and in small groups, is that it's usually best if we pick one scenario, in my experience. So we all, when we get back together as a big group, we're all talking about the same issue. It depends on how your time is. If I find my time is slow, I'll spread it out. If I find my time is short, we'll all stick to the same issue.
Pam, I'm just checking, that's okay?
Usually your group is larger than this, so if
Yeah.
you have 2 that have the same, it's good. I don't personally recommend doing all the same ones.
See, each of us has a different take on this, what's going to work best
It's
for
good
you.
to have at least 2 groups do the same, because then they realize not every decision,
Yeah.
there's not just one way to resolve it, to come to a
Okay,
decision.
just
Yeah.
checking, because this is a video or people are watching, so I just make sure.
Yeah.
One of the things I have tried in the past when I found my time was running differently, a little longer, was I had everybody do one and then everybody did a different one. So we still could talk about those.
Well, it's also good to go through what they are and then go to the scenarios, rather than you give different scenarios. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Besides the fire drill one, the fire drill one is one we definitely want to do, because it really brings it home.
You try to make the point with fire drill, and then we're going to go back to 611. If you have it in front of you, there are 3 scenarios: basketball team, drum major, and honor code. Now at this point again, I'm looking at my group, and for some reason I allowed my group to get in and get seated and have almost all the boys on one side and almost all the girls on the other side. So I'm going to make an executive decision. Let's count off by 3s. So I can get them up and moving, so I can get them to separate corners. Could the 1s, could the 2s, could the 3s, please? Okay? And give them the opportunity to pick which one they want, or I'll assign 1 do 1, 2 do 2, 3 do 3. Read it, discuss with each other which one of these you think is the best appropriate choice. We're not going to do that for sake of the camera, but let's say that we did that, we came back. And here's my first group, here's my second, here's my third group. Explain the scenario to the rest of us if you would. Go ahead. And Emily's explaining it. I walk to the other side of the room so she's nice and loud. She gives us a summary. And we talk about what you did and why. And this is our opportunity as teachers to keep going back to slides we've put up before. Oh, you said you chose autocratic. You said you chose compromise. Which of the 7 steps did you go through and why? Could you walk us through that? And I say kids because I'm old. Students, delegates get the opportunity to hear how other people might handle a particular situation and to begin to see that there are different approaches to each one. As Craig and others pointed out too, I often use elements of each one, but at different stages of the process to see what's going on there. Okay? Let's see.
I just interject, I don't give delegates a choice of which one, because then they're going to take the time to read all.
Thank you.
You do not want to give them a choice.
Yeah.
And you don't want to, if you count off by 3s for the 3 different scenarios, you don't want to put all the 3s together. You want only like 3 or 4 delegates discussing each one. And that way,
Yeah.
you separate your 3, count off by 6, whatever you have to count off by. That way you will have more than one group do the same decision, or do the same scenario, I should say, and then you have a comparison.
Well, that sometimes you says to have them acted out in a skit.
That's the other decision making.
Okay,
Yep.
that's,
This isn't the group decision, those are the ethical ones.
okay, so this is like fine.
And that's only if time allows, yeah, but this is,
Yeah.
this one is just, they're gonna read it, discuss it, decide which, decision-making strategy, which group decision-making strategy would be the most effective and why. The other one is the ethical one.
You both pointed out that one of the beauties of this class is sometimes they light on fire and it seems to go so fast. Sometimes it takes a while to get to where we're going, but we still get there. That's why you've got this bag of tricks. If I've still got a lot of time left, we're going to move to objective 5, which we're going to cover just now. If I don't have a lot of time left, I move into evaluation and we wrap it up from there. Objective 5 gives them the opportunity to practice what they preach, to walk it through. And again, I'm going to put them into groups and talk about, on page 613, there are decision-making scenarios. We're going to give them a little time to work this out, stand up in front of the group and act it out. What I'm giving students the option to do here is the same as I had said before. If one of your acting out is to do nothing, it's fine, and we can talk about it later. If you choose confrontation, we'll talk about how did you confront that situation while keeping yourself and everyone else safe. So go to objective 5. I don't know if you have your notebooks in front of you or not, but on page 613, the 3 choices are, the first one talks about using words such as gay as a put down, insulting other people with terms that they have no business insulting other people with. The second is the cafeteria group. Somebody standing by a table goes to sit down, he or she is obviously an outsider, everyone laughs, literally gets up and leaves in that situation. The third is you're on social media and you see that people have written several inaccurate and unkind things about a particular student in your school who you may or may not know. And the opportunity with acting gives the students a chance to really try out what we've been talking about. To put on the shoes of how does it feel to confront somebody in a really safe situation and see what might happen. I watched that video and I saw some scenes where it could have gotten touch and go, but somebody was there to calm things down. Even though the young lady did stutter, she was a plant in the sense that she had enough people around her in case the situation went south. So we're not looking to cause trouble in that situation, we just want to give people the opportunity to try that out. So, if I've done objective 5 at the end, we've had a chance to do our little skits and talk about our choices and review the 7 steps of problem solving. And then I go to 6, evaluation. At the very end of the notebook, we talk about the class. I always try to introduce evaluation using these 2 things. One is, I say there's a reason why LTC is 61 years old, the oldest student leadership conference in the nation. It's because we evaluate every time. We evaluate first session and we make changes for second session. We evaluate all year long for the next year. So I'm going to ask you to flip to your books to class number 6. And write a number down, whichever one works for you. 4 is always a good choice. But I'm going to ask you to do 2 things, and I understand it's written this way now. Number 1 says, one thing I really enjoyed about this class. I want to go back to what Pam taught us a few minutes ago, which was choose your language. One thing I really enjoyed. I'm going to assume there's 50 things you really enjoyed, but just share one, because I need to see it written. A 4 doesn't mean anything to me. What was I good for? A 1 doesn't mean anything to me, because where did I mess up? So they write that, and then they ask them to say, now, here's something else. One thing I would do differently. I didn't say, write something that sucked, because now I've steered them in a direction. I didn't say, tell me something that was awful, because now I'm assuming something was awful. I'll say, write something, one thing I would do differently is, and I asked, and you raised your hand and you said, have this class in an air-conditioned room. That doesn't insult me. It doesn't insult the program. It gives us information we can take back to the staff at the fill in the blank. And I'm not picking on Holy Cross, okay? Thanks. We are grateful for the opportunity. All of you academy graduates, okay. I would like this class to be a little shorter, a little longer. And I'm giving them opportunities to say exactly what we did in the last class. Turn it into an I statement. I would have learned more if an old fart wasn't the teacher. If the cell phone had gone off all the time. Yeah, if the cell phone had gone off all the time. That's what we do everything. And this year we expect to hear a few comments about, better or worse or more or less use of media to get us through the day. That sort of thing. I did skip a few things. That doesn't mean that they're invaluable when you go back to your notes and go, you didn't talk about this, that, the other. Just I hit some of the high points for this so you'd have some ideas. But I did lead off with some of the things I really hope, especially the new and younger SC staff will do, so that you can become old farts like Lisa. Not just like me. Oh, let's move on.